Warning, I chain smoke and I say fuck a lot. But I accept myself for the way I am. I accept you too. Viewer discretion advised.
Hello. It's been a while.
We interrupt our program to bring you this important message.
This video is sponsored by you, the viewer. I've had a sponsor before. I didn't like it, so I'm not sponsored, nor am I monetized anywhere. So anything I do make comes from you. So if you like what I do and you want to support the cause, you can shoot me a tip or support to my PayPal, Venmo, Cash App below. Or you can join my Patreon or check out my merch store. So I've made over 100 videos on Epstein and his pals, starting in 2017, mostly in 2019, but going all the way to 2023. And I've been trying to re-upload them around since some of them are missing from YouTube, etc. And I'll leave some links below if you want to check some of them out. I've been listening to them again, and honestly, I forgot about a lot of this stuff. So a lot has happened since I covered this last. But let's look back. On July 6, 2019, Epstein arrested again. And then a little over a month later, on August 10, 2019, Epstein suicide, if you believe it. And then around a year later, on July 2, 2020, Ghislaine Maxwell arrested. A few months later, on December 16, 2020, Jean-Luc Brunel arrested in France. And then around 14 months later, on February 19, 2022, Jean-Luc Brunel suicide, if you believe it. Then unfortunately 3 years later, on April 25, 2025, Virginia Giuffre suicide, if you believe it.
Virginia Giuffre, one of the most outspoken Jeffrey Epstein accusers, has died by suicide. She was 41. Virginia's family says she died at her home in Perth, Australia on April 24th. Her sister-in-law telling People the world lost a fierce warrior, but her struggles became too much to carry. Her death comes years after Virginia denied having any suicidal intentions, writing on X at the time, "If something happens to me, do not let this go away," adding, "Too many evil people want to see me quieted."
Another weird thing is not long before she was found dead, she tweeted that she was hit by a bus and didn't have long to live.
In one of her last social media posts earlier this month, Giuffre said she was hospitalized after a car accident and was gravely injured, posting a disturbing photo. But days later, she was released.
So that's all strange. And then recently, on February 18, 2026, Leslie Wexner questioned by the House Oversight Committee. Did you hear what his lawyer said?
Answer the question. 5 words, okay? Answer the question. Okay.
And then the next day, on February 19, 2026, Prince Andrew arrested and released.
A haunted-looking former Prince Andrew released after nearly 12 hours in police custody. Driven away from a police station in eastern England after his unprecedented arrest in the early hours of his 66th birthday. The King's younger brother taken into custody on suspicion of misconduct in public office, while authorities searched his house in Norfolk and his former royal residence near Windsor Castle. Andrew has not been charged with a crime, and authorities have not made public the details of the allegations against him. But his release doesn't mean he's in the clear, and he could still face charges. Police tonight saying he is under investigation.
So a lot has been happening, especially with all these new emails and messages that recently came out. I'll leave links below to both the DOJ, where you can search through there, and Jmail. And I'll admit, it's pretty fun to look through these emails. But there's too much to cover there, but go look yourself. Another weird thing we found out with these new releases is that the MCC, the prison in New York, used a decoy for Epstein's body to avert the attention of the news. I'll leave a link below. Due to the large news media presence outside the MCC, a male OCME official called and said he would be arriving at the loading dock with a black vehicle. In order to thwart the media, blank, blank, and blank used boxes and sheets to create what appeared to be a human body, which was put into the white OCME vehicle, which the press followed, allowing the black vehicle to depart unnoticed with Epstein's body. The question is, was that body dead or alive? And if it was dead, why would they need to do that? And if it's alive, where did it go? Well, here's one hypothesis. Have you ever heard of the law of return?
A CBS News investigation has uncovered a loophole that allows accused and convicted American pedophiles to escape justice by moving to Israel.
An organization that hunts down accused pedophiles who flee to Israel from the U.S., exploiting a process called law of return, whereby any Jewish person can move to Israel and automatically gain citizenship. The ease with which pedophiles seem able to use this law as an escape route haunts victims like Mendy Hawk, who says he was abused from age 8 by a teacher at an Orthodox Jewish school in Los Angeles. And often, those abusers end up in Israel. Rabbi Yehuda Oppenheimer says he unwittingly helped Caro escape.
There was nothing that raised any red flags up to the point where he was moving to Israel.
Well, I wish I could say that, but unfortunately I can't say that. So he had violated his parole, and now they were looking for him. He said that there was something in the past that had happened when he was young, but nothing had ever happened since. I've changed and I'm a different person now, but you gotta help me. I felt that I could trust him. So I wrote him a letter, and he bought a ticket, and he left.
Caro is accused of abusing more children when he got to Israel.
What was that like for you when you found that out?
Punch to the gut. It was very painful.
And just to add to that, I made a video a long time ago called Relentless Pursuit about Epstein, because Bradley Edwards, one of the lawyers, put out a book called Relentless Pursuit, and listen what he said that Epstein's bodyguard had to say.
Jeffrey didn't talk during the car ride from the mansion to the Wall Street office of a major league hedge fund manager, whom the bodyguard couldn't or wouldn't identify. They got to the office building, and Epstein got out of the car with purpose, walking briskly to the front door of the high tower. His bodyguard was trying to keep up. They headed to the elevator, and Epstein didn't stop to tell the front desk that he had arrived. When he got up to the floor of the hedge fund, Epstein, still on a mission, walked straight toward the back of the office complex, to what his bodyguard referred to as the president's office. Epstein opened the door without knocking and barged in. He walked to the chair side of the desk, leaned over to the president and said, "You need to get that money to Israel immediately, like effing yesterday." As the story was relayed to me, the man on the receiving end of Epstein's demand was shaking. This man was another Wall Street billionaire who made his own rules. With his voice quivering, he responded to Epstein saying, "I wired $30 million today. It's already there. You can check." Without a word to him, Epstein turned around and walked out, leaving the building the same way he'd come in.
But then again, there's also this from the Epstein files, July 6, 2021. So 2 years after Epstein supposedly killed himself. Subject, Epstein. Hi, hope you and your fam had a great 4th. I know you've got a lot going on this week, but I spoke with blank, and he has no problem with our team debriefing Epstein regarding the shats. The shats? Sounds like I shat my pants. Do you have his counsel's contact, and would you be able to dial into a debrief anytime this week? Our team can handle the report and make sure you get a copy. And this is from the Office of Inspector General, U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. And someone replies saying, LOL, Friday I am on Arizona time through next week, so morning is the same as you all. Thursday, Epstein does live in Colorado, so he is 2 hours behind, though he has jumped on calls as early as 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time in the past. My only other thing Thursday is a debrief at 2 p.m. Thursday. So, they're talking about debriefing Epstein 2 years later. But, is that Jeffrey Epstein? We don't know. I'll leave a link though. Also, did you hear what Dushowitz had to say on Piers Morgan?
He ended up 18 months in prison. He was outraged. He didn't want to spend a minute in prison. I could have gotten him no jail time. If he had told me he worked for the Mossad, for the CIA, he was an intelligence source, it would have been a slam dunk for me to go to whoever I had to go to, even up to the President of the United States, and I would have gotten him a deal with no time at all. Epstein was a selfish SOB. He would do anything to avoid prison time. Why wouldn't he have told me that he worked for the Mossad if he worked for the Mossad. So, yeah, of course he's not going to tell me when I knew him as an academic acquaintance, he's not going to tell me he's having sex with young children. He hid that from everybody. He did have a separate life, a completely separate life. But once I was his lawyer, it was in his interest to tell me things that would benefit him. And I can't imagine anything benefiting him more than having worked for an intelligence agency. But I pressed him on that.
Some people might
and
be.
He didn't,
I'll come to Bassem in a moment, but some people will be listening to this going, hang on a second, you mean if he'd said he was working with the Mossad or CIA, then he would get off being a paedophile? In other words, you can commit crimes of paedophilia
he wasn't accused of being
children, and you would simply not go to prison for it.
That's right.
Well, Epstein's bodyguard also had to visit CIA headquarters to receive a message for Epstein while he was in the Palm Beach jail.
Epstein was in jail, he still had extraordinary power, even within our own government. This bodyguard had been sent by Epstein to Virginia to CIA headquarters. Nervously telling me the story, he said, I didn't know why I was there, but he told me they would take care of me. I attended a class for a week. At the beginning of the class, everyone had to introduce themselves. There were 45 people. 44 people were in the CIA or some other government unit with top-secret clearance. I was the only private citizen. Everyone introduced themselves, and the instructor saved me for last. He did not let me introduce myself. Instead, he just introduced me as what he called a special operative. He explained that he then attended the classes for the week before he was given a book with a personalized note and told to deliver it to Jeffrey. He took the book to Jeffrey's seldom-occupied county jail cell and delivered it without reading the contents of the note. He spends most of his days doing what you know he does, hanging out with his girls, getting massages. The rest is traveling with very specific missions. Most don't last very long. The girls he trusts come along.
And of course, there's a lot more coming out, but it's impossible for me to cover it all. So, thanks for watching.
Fucking stoned.
I got